Okay. Yeah, like you said, I'm gonna go through a little bit of the history of Take 'em Down and kind of what's brought us to this point and sort of the work that's going on as we move forward into this next period. So, I mean, the first thing I'd want to emphasize is that this moment has come out of a long period of struggle. This isn't, contrary to some of what's being said, even by the city, this isn't just some decision that was made by the mayor. Should I say a little bit about who I am first? Yeah. I forgot about that. Forgot about that. So I'm in the New Orleans Workers Group, and I was actually invited to do this by Quest Riggs, who you probably know, and then he put me in touch with Taryn, and I work closely with some other folks that you might know, like Gabrielle Gemma, who lives in New Orleans now, and she was in New York with Workers' World Party for many, many years. And so I've been sort of involved in a lot of the later phases of Take 'em Down, working closely with those people in the past couple of months. But anyway, so I was basically saying that this comes out of a long history of struggle going back at least to the 50s to get these monuments removed. I have right here, if y'all can see this, I have a pamphlet that was put out by the revolutionary political organization Marxist-Leninist and the Afro-American Liberation League in 1989. It says, "Down with racist monuments, drive out white supremacy out of public art." And this was co-authored by Malcolm Suber, who is then one of the leaders of Take 'em Down, one of the founding members, also one of the founding members of the New Orleans Workers Group, one of the founding members of the New Orleans People's Assembly. And when you read this document, it makes it very clear that their understanding of the importance of the struggle really comes out of a deep analysis about the national question and about what the Confederacy, the meaning of the Confederacy, what these symbols resonate with, and it describes how throughout the decades these monuments have been rallying sites for the Klan. They've used them as gathering places for years, and so that they're basically being, up until now, they've been subsidized with our tax money to allow Klan meetings to occur, and that's part of the analysis that they've put forward. And so the struggle has gone on for a long time, but obviously it also comes out of some recent upsurges, like Black Lives Matter nationally has added a lot of fuel to the fire, generating interest, or renewed interest, in taking down these monuments here. And of course it's not just monuments, it's street names, school names, so on and so on. And nationally there's been a campaign to get rid of monuments in other towns and cities, and a lot of that came out of or was sparked by the 2015 terrorist attack in Charleston by a white supremacist terrorist, Dylan Roof. I'm sure you're all well aware, but that horrible event sort of demonstrated really what all this stuff means and why it is still important. Like, this kind of hatred is alive and well, and of course we know that there's a global upsurge of white supremacy, white nationalism, neo-fascism, from Trump to Marine Le Pen in France to the fascists who've been installed in Ukraine, and those in the leadership of Take 'em Down NOLA are very well aware of all this. It's very much on people's minds that this is an important, by being able to strike a blow against white supremacy here, this has a certain global resonance, and we're glad to see that it's inspiring to people all over who are engaged in this kind of struggle. And then again, I want to just sort of reemphasize, so Take 'em Down as an organization has been around for a couple of years, and it came out of that 2015 upsurge following that terrorist attack. And we should understand that it's been a grassroots campaign that has garnered a lot of like broad support from people throughout the city, working class, black majority, also progressive whites and other people from other groups. This isn't something that has been initiated by the city. And we sort of been in a dual struggle, really. So on the one hand, we're fighting against these open reactionary elements, these white supremacists, Klans members, so on and so on. But at the same time, we're struggling with the city they've tried to sort of steer this in a certain direction, that to make it seem as though the initiative is coming from like the Democratic Party establishment in the city. They want to divert us from the orientation of militant mass movement, from grassroots movement. And so their sort of tactic has been, as the neoliberal wing of the city who's gone along with all the policies of gentrification, post-Katrina. These are the same people who, support the billionaires who run the tourist industry while, actively fighting against the working class and oppressed majority in the city. These same people are trying to claim this as their own victory. And so part of their strategy has been to say, okay, well, we're going to take these monuments down and look what we're doing, this kind of tokenistic thing, but we don't want to have mass celebrations. We don't want to have mass public gatherings. We just want to take them down at unplanned times, under the cover of night, for security reasons. Well, so there's a legitimate side to this, that yes, there have been death threats, which we've seen even on, like, openly on Facebook pages and so on. Some of us have been doxxed. David Duke has been railing against us daily, and we've been featured on the Daily Stormer, and all these kinds of awful, awful elements have made threats, and these white supremacists have come into town openly brandishing weapons, assault weapons, and so on. And so the city has sort of used that as an excuse to try to deny any kind of a public celebration of this. But Take 'Em Down has been very adamant that they're not going to back down. And so, for example, we set up, actually Quest Riggs and I set up a text blast. So when we get word that one of the statues is coming down in the middle of the night, we text out 500 or so people in the city, the statue's coming down, come out. And this is our way of sort of thinking. Yeah, and so every time we've been able to get masses of people out, and it's very clear that Take 'Em Down has broad support among all kinds of sections of the people in the city, and it's very obvious when you look at the other side, on the other sides of the barricades with their Confederate flags. They don't have any kind of real roots. They can't openly have their own parades like we do. Like, we can come out and celebrate with brass bands when marched on the street. There's a big difference. And I think that's a good thing, that people can see that, who really has broad support. And so this has gone on. There's been 4 monuments taken down. The one that was literally called the Monument to White Supremacy, which was an obelisk, which was erected and dedicated to like a street battle, murders that happened during the Reconstruction period. White supremacists who are opposing the Reconstruction government in the city. They've taken down the Jefferson Davis statue, taken down the Beauregard statue, and yesterday Robert E. Lee came down. Yeah. Throw it in the garbage. Dump it in the river or whatever. And so I want to just sort of bring up this big picture that Take 'Em Down has been very clear about, that it's not just about the past, like the the pro-monument people want to say, oh, you're trying to erase history, or it's just about a historical question, and this thing happened a long time ago, blah, blah. But Take Them Down is very clear. In every event that they put on, they say, you know, this is about the system of white supremacy that's still in place, and it's about capitalism. And we understand that very clearly. And this struggle here over the monuments has really put the wind in our sails in terms of all the other work that we're doing. So we're seeing a lot more people interested in the workers group, a lot more people interested in this People's Assembly, which we're building, which is pushing for a people's budget to take on, you know, the city's current priorities, which is the majority of the budget goes to policing. And public transportation is completely inadequate. The workers group is carrying out a campaign to increase public transportation that would serve the working class black majority who've been pushed out to suburbs but still have to come into to downtown to work in the tourist industry and so on. So all these things are interconnected. We're working out of one office. It's very confusing and exciting. Like sometimes I don't know what meeting I'm in. Like I'm seeing the same people from Take Them Down, from the workers group, and you know, and that'll be worked out in time. But it's a good problem to have right now. And I think and I like the fact that people in the city can sort of see who's doing something, like who's really involved in the struggle day to day. That the leadership of Take Them Down and all these organizations, we are revolutionary communists. We now have, the workers group now has a weekly radio show, which was launched last week. We've launched an anti-war coalition, which has been endorsed by Take Them Down and the People's Assembly and WHIV, which is a local progressive radio station that's hosting our radio show. So, you know, I think it's just a very exciting time here that we're able to pose all these questions about white supremacy and capitalism and all the rest of it to the masses of people in a very obvious way. Like they can see these statues coming down. They can see what grassroots organizing is doing. I think people are not buying the story that the mayor is leading this. You know, they saw the march that Take Them Down put on. Take Them Down had well over 1,000 people out in the street with brass bands, like I said, dancing, public celebration against the wishes of the city, who the police chief called Super the day before and asked Malcolm to cancel the whole thing. He's like, no, this is too dangerous. These white supremacists you can't do this, you can't do it. But Take Them Down did not back down. And so that's you know, and that's sort of where we are, is like building the broad people's movement here. And Take Them Down is also calling for a conference against white supremacy to be held in 2018. I don't have all the information; it's still being worked out. But you know, this work is being pushed forward, and hopefully we'll get to meet some of you all at that.